Thank you, Mr. Williams, and a pleasant good afternoon to everyone listening and watching via all various means. First, I want to start this presentation by expressing solidarity with the St. Kitts Nevis Haitian Association and to let you know that we stand with you and your people as you go through your time of grief on the passing of the president of Haiti and the injuries sustained by the First Lady there in Haiti. And I also want to express solidarity with the people of Grenada who would have suffered from the impacts of Elsa, with flood damage, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who would have had a number of house roof blown off, the people of St. Lucia, who would have experienced the same, and also with the people of Barbados, who have actually received significant damage from the passage of Hurricane Elsa. I also want to extend solidarity with the people of Cuba, who would have been ravaged by the passage of Hurricane Elsa. Our prayers and thoughts are with you. I want to also take this opportunity to thank a number of healthcare professionals based on my experience today. I would have been in the hospital with my mother from about 10 a.m. this morning till just a while ago. And I must commend the professionalism exercised by Dr. Isaac, Dr. Blanco, Nurse Tyson, and Nurse Fraser. I think sometimes we don't appreciate the hard work that some of these institutional healthcare professionals do at times. And for your efforts today, I want to say thank you publicly. Ladies and gentlemen, we would have had, meaning the COVID-19 task force would have convened a multi-stakeholders meeting on July 6th, 2021. And in this meeting, we would have had participation from all sectors of our society and a number of measures that are going to be deliberated upon, and hopefully they will be approved or discussed. However, prior to that, on the 5th of July, the National COVID-19 Task Force would have had a discussion. And this discussion, we looked at the various sectors in society as per the reopening of our economy and the country as a whole, and bringing the country to a state of normalcy. Let me just outline to you per sector some of the recommendations, general recommendations that were discussed among the membership in consultation with a number of stakeholders. We look at public transport. We look at land and sea, because we know the air side of it is open and is functional. We look at the bus, taxi operators, at what percentage of capacity, or at what capacity, do they begin to function in a phased approach. We also look at the ferries, water taxis, and at what capacity they should function. We look at the business sector in terms of the opening hours. Should we continue with curfews? How do we continue with a phased approach to a number of these sectors? Encouraging e-commerce, looking at digital transformation as the way forward to help us build resilience, because the reality is that we have to live with this virus going forward. We also look at the discussion of vendors remaining in the public market. We look at the situation of farmers and fishers, adopting programs that will help them to be resilient. We also look at the policy of persons working remotely and the capacity that should be permissible for persons to return to offices. And we look at the policy for the vaccination for businesses to continue to, advocate for vaccination, and also the continuing education programs for these businesses. We also look at the construction sector and looking at opening of the hardware stores so that construction can begin, and how this construction sector can do their trade or apply the trade in a very safe manner. We were happy with the religious sector because they have been conforming with the protocols and procedures, and there was much really that we can actually advocate for, but for them to continue doing what they were doing. We also look at the education sector, the protocols and the documents that have been developed by the Ministry of Education in consultation with the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders such as the task force, National COVID-19 Task Force. And we also encourage the reopening of nurseries and daycares with strict protocols. Let me just mention something for the business sector. For the business sector, we also discuss stiff penalties for those who are not conforming to the protocols. For example, a ticketing system. Rather than taking you to court right away, have a ticketing system, and by extension, then if it reached to the point of taking them to court, then we should do so. We also look at the tourism sector, the opening of beach bars and restaurants. We look at the opening of restaurants and bars in general, and also the return of the cruise industry. That is priority for us. We would love to see the tourism sector become alive and highly competitive and one of the best in the region, and we are looking at these sectors. We are hoping that the stayover tourist or guest that will increase as well, and that is why some recommendations are on the table for the reduction of the quarantine period. We also looked at the entertainment sector, limiting the limited activities of fetes and subjecting persons to a number of protocols, encouraging the vaccination process, looking at non-vaccinated, and also ensuring that there are caps in a phased approach to activities. We looked at the manufacturing sector. We were pleased by the approach that was taken by the manufacturers themselves. We would have met on the 5th with the manufacturing sector as well, and they themselves rolled out their plan in how they wish to open, and that was commendable. I want to commend Cajola Cristado, Java Electronics, and API Harrow Sover. They were excellent in delivering their roadmap to recovery plan to us in terms of reopening, and to them we commend them. We also look at the financial sector, the banks, those institutions that do send money and deal with remittances, etc., and the safe operations, because we know there's a sector of society that actually depends on these sectors, so we want to ensure that we build resilience within these sectors. We also look at the sporting sector and the resumption of sports, major events within the sporting sector. We know that we are looking forward for CPL that should begin next year, and also we know that we have the football, basketball, and cricket, volleyball, amongst many other sports that are played at high levels. We also look at the public sector and ensuring that we have so that the public sector in itself mirrors what is being demanded of the private sector. However, for us to do this, we have to ensure that there is major compliance. For example, the COVID-19 compliance teams, the police, health inspectors, and others will have to carry out more robust inspections of businesses and also enforce these protocols. Within the entertainment sector, we looked at also the gaming sector, the casinos. We have a number of casinos, and we know that these casinos do provide a level of entertainment as well. So these are being looked at, and hopefully by next week, we should see some form of reopening. Let me just say to you, general public and everyone viewing, that I think we are at a level that we are satisfied. We do understand that we have to live with this virus, and the reality is that you have to adapt. We have to now adapt to live with this. This should be and I want to caution myself in saying this, but should be our last 24-hour lockdown. Maybe we could have restrictions if we see clusters, but if we look around the world, we can see. Look at the UK, what they have done. Barbados has done similar, and we are looking at the best practice throughout the Caribbean region and by extension, the whole world. With that said, I want to thank a number of individuals who have made our work a little easier. The hotels who have made a significant sacrifice to keep their staff in-house so that they won't have to be traversing back and forth from the place of abode to the place of work and minimizing the risk of bringing in the virus to the institution. The taxi operators who came out on full lockdown days to ensure that they service the incoming flights. The port workers who processed anyone coming into our countries. But most importantly, my highest recommendation goes to the general public and the disciplineship we have seen. The 1 or 2 incidents reported here and there, these are something that are acceptable. They fall within the plus or minus margin that we expected, but overall we have had a wonderful response from the general public. And of course, the frontline workers who came out on a daily basis to perform their duties. You didn't see no much sick out, you didn't see no much complaining. Persons came and they performed the national duties as was expected. The limited days of operations, the 8th and the 9th of July, will be critical periods. I am certain, just like I am, you feel rather restricted by the lockdown. This is something I don't wish to experience again. And if you want to do your part, tomorrow exercise the necessary discipline required and the lines. When you go to the lines, keep your distances, continue to wear your mask, sanitize. And if you see someone who is breaking the protocol, simply advise them to follow the protocols. When you're traversing on the public transportation, exercise caution. Again, I am going to make an appeal that if you have a large household and you only need to shop, please let one person from your household go do the shopping if necessary and come back. If you have your own vehicle, utilize your own vehicle and avoid public transportation. I also want to acknowledge a group from NEOC in Miami. They have communicated that they have carried out a fundraiser exercise in Miami. They have packed a container full of food, and they will be donating this container full of food through NEMA for the general public. This exercise will be executed again by social services. So as soon as this container reaches here, we are going to continue to support our social protection programs that are in place. So P.S. Lewis has been placed on high alert with this and in this regard. So I have outlined to you what the discussions are, and I know some of you want to know what is happening on Monday. Are we opening on Monday? Well, please tune in tomorrow to the Prime Minister's press conference, and we will communicate to you. I'm not committing that you will hear it tomorrow, but it will be important for you to tune in, as he's the actually chief. He's the commandant-in-chief, and he will be the one to inform the general public and the country on these procedures. So please tune in tomorrow to the Prime Minister's press conference right here at NEMA and ZIZ and all the other major radio stations, and listen for the announcements. So thank you again, and we now look forward for your questions.